Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is Reservations. We are your hosts. I'm Jeremy Blair.
And I'm Rain Whalen.
Man, rock and roll. Let's get this show on the road.
Oh my god.
By the way, that's what we're titling the episode.
Oh, we're rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
So Jeremy, I was telling you this off mic. We're getting into the episode. Just gotta say this. I need everyone to hear how excited I am for this movie. So I'm very excited for the Nina DaCosta, Jordan Peele, Candyman movie that's coming out.
Candyman's gonna be dope. Our boy Yaya's in it, so you know.
Yeah, you know it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good, man.
Especially considering the first one, the original, is amazing.
Yeah.
Great horror, great slasher horror, which is my favorite kind of horror.
You know what's interesting is that, we discussed Candyman in my horror films class in college. There is a horror films class in college, you can
Tight.
And, my parents are disappointed in me at all. So anyway, we discussed that, in terms of film criticism, this one is really unique because they really dived in and sort of just centered on Virginia Madsen's nudity.
Yeah.
And not so much anything else about it. They're just like, hey, there's boobs in it, and it's Virginia Madsen's
How
boobs.
dare they?
And which is so weird because, especially for that time, it's not anything new.
Yeah.
I guess it was new for Virginia Madsen, but that's nothing to get that excited about.
Oh, you're saying that it was very critical of just about that.
Yeah, they were. That's all they were talking about. Is just like, oh, and Virginia Madsen gets naked. It's like, okay, but
and
also let's talk about her acting, or let's talk. You can, even if you didn't like the acting, at least talk about it.
Right.
It was so odd. Anyway, it's what we really honed in, and we really liked, or we discussed the uniqueness of the setting of Candyman.
I think that's why it's so good, man.
Yeah.
Like this horror movie, but the social commentary
in the projects,
is gentrification. Yeah.
Right.
But anyway,
right.
So
Candyman is
so excited for it.
Yeah, it's gonna be really
so
good.
excited that I'm dreaming of it. I wanted our audience to hear how weird I am. But I can't wait for it. August 27th.
Yeah.
Can't get here fast enough.
Soon.
Yeah.
That's soon.
A week and a half. Oh, not even a week and a half. Like a week.
When this comes out.
Yeah. Well,
at the end of the week.
Well, actually, this one will go up in real time.
Oh, it will.
Yeah, real time. This one will go up in the next hour.
Oh.
But we have an announcement at the end of the episode. Anyway.
Yeah, okay.
So, Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
What are we talking about?
This week we are discussing...
Like I don't know.
Like you don't know. We're discussing Rules of Attraction. This is another Bret Easton Ellis adaptation.
So, I was so excited. Yeah. I literally went to Barnes & Noble with Ashley to buy the book.
Okay.
Almost did.
Book's a little different.
I didn't buy it. Mainly because I didn't like how it was... The pages were printed.
Oh.
It was very... very old style of printing. Okay. And I didn't like it. So
like
Ashley
felt in the hand.
Yeah, and Ashley was like, well, you could wait till there's like another. I was like, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
So I'm also kind of glad I didn't read the book before I saw the movie. And I'm gonna get it out of the way now. I loved it.
Okay.
It was great. Yeah. I was sold from the minute.
Yeah.
From the second the movie started.
Yeah.
And I have a joke queued up for it.
Great.
Welcome back to Irreversible 2.0.
Yes. It is similar, sort of,
yeah.
to Irreversible, except this one actually uses rewind. So actually clicks the rewind button on this one.
Yes. But yeah, dude, I loved it. No, I was so jazzed that I almost even bought American Psycho.
Yeah.
The book. But I was
Sean and Paul are in American Psycho.
Yes. But since I did not buy the Rules of Attraction, I was like, you know what, I'll just wait on American Psycho 2.
Yeah, see if you can find some cool ones on Amazon. I bet you there are some cool covers and.
I liked one of the covers of American Psycho that I found where it looks like it's a painting.
Yes.
That one I really like. That one
that's a cool cover for that one. Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, man, like, I was sold from. As soon as the voiceover narration started, and all the just how everything all was already cut together, I was like, oh, Yes.
I mean, you could tell this guy wrote Pulp Fiction with Tarantino.
With
I mean,
Tarantino?
this is sort of his wheelhouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
This sort of style of this, going up and down the narrative, right?
Right.
The timeline, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and let's start with, I guess, first impressions. You loved it, right?
Loved it.
I had never heard of this movie before. I was in college. I just started college, and this is when I met my buddy Kale, who I went to go see this weekend, which is why this is so late.
Yes,
and I'm also going out of town this weekend. So anyway, it just never stops. So constantly out of town. So he had shown me a couple of clips, and these are the two clips I saw that completely sold me. One was Paul and Richard having dinner with their moms.
Yeah.
And I go, what is this? Right? And then he showed me Jay Baruchel. Is that how you say it?
Sure.
ODing.
ODing.
ODing. And the sort of surrealism of the doctor going, he's dead.
He's dead.
Which, of course, he's just making fun of them. But
he's not dead. I can see him breathing. He's dead.
Shut up, you're dead, shut up. I love it. And I completely fell in love with it. I go, what is this? How can I see it? This is a movie? And I saw it and I was completely blown away by it.
Yeah.
Right? And this is after I'd seen American Psycho, and I go, this is Bret Easton Ellis. I go, okay. And then, of course, I get the little, is this Patrick, over the phone? And
yeah. Which, I'm going to be honest. So I'm going to give my own correction for last week's episode. This is not a spiritual sequel to American Psycho, because in the bibliography of Bret Easton Ellis, American Psycho is technically the spiritual sequel to this book.
Yeah.
Because this one is the first time we ever hear the mention of Patrick Bateman. And then, of course, American Psycho is all about Patrick.
And this one's all about Sean. Basically, kind of.
Yes. But I'm actually very glad that we don't see Patrick at all in this movie.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I did look up the deleted scene. And, I was like, okay, I get it. But, I mean, once you see Christian Bale as Patrick Bateman,
it's over, right?
Yeah.
I agree. Because once he decided, no, I don't want to do that character again. It's not...
Which is so wild, because it had only been 2 years before.
Yeah, no disrespect. I don't want to be typecast as this thing. And so, you know what I mean? And I get it.
Even though he would have literally only had, a day's worth of work.
Yeah, but still, I mean, the audience would see him as Patrick Bateman again, and then it would, it's over.
It'd be like, oh... But they need that for Batman, though,
It's different. Batman's different, you know it. So, anyway.
But yeah, I loved that. Yeah, this is primarily of the Bateman brothers is primarily focused on Sean. But I do want to say, what kind of upbringing have the Bateman brothers been through?
Who knows? Sorry, that's my phone.
That's all right. That the older brother, Patrick, turns out to be a serial killer / he's just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Because we don't know if he's really a serial killer.
Well...
No, he for sure is a serial killer.
I think he is, and I think it's just that the point of that book is no one cares.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's so self-involved, no one cares.
Right. Anyway, and then Sean is a drug-dealing sex maniac.
Sex maniac. I mean, he likes to have a good time. I disagree on the sex maniac, but let's just jump in. So you're right into, as much as I disagree with that, I do understand why you would say it, which is this movie is sort of a surrealist version of what college is like.
Yeah.
Because it's completely non-realistic. I mean, at least for me.
Well, at least in our own college experiences.
It's just completely ridiculous. And, and here are a few ways of why I think that. One, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
It's sort of like high school, and I wrote that down. Everyone is, when I was in elementary, middle school, it was such a small school that, I would just have to say, Patrick, Will, John, and everyone knows what I'm talking about. But here and in high school, you have to do first and last, right?
Yes, as I'm sure we've talked about, me being friends with you and then our other friend Jeremy Stairs.
Yes.
And so it got to the point where I just had to call you guys by your last names.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, oh no, I'm going to lunch with Blair. Oh no, I'm hanging out with Stairs after.
Right.
And
right.
then people knew I was talking about.
Right.
Like for me, I was the only Rain.
Right. I was going to say, like for you, it was like Rain. It's like, oh, okay, I know who that is.
Oh, that weird guy.
But like in this, they were like, oh, he left with Paul. And they're like, oh, Paul Denton? Right? First, last. Right? And it's like, how do all of these people know each other? Well, Lauren dated Paul before he came out.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, there's sort of there is a group of people that all know each other, but the way the movie is represented, it seems like it's such a small school that it is sort of like high school that everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If I'm being honest, I wasn't paying attention to, like, how does everyone know everyone?
Yeah.
But, I mean, after I got to ruminate with it, I was like, yeah, everyone kind of knows everyone.
Everyone seems to know everybody. Yeah.
Except for the poor cafeteria girl. No one knows who she is.
Oh, boy.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah. But, yeah. Well, and it... yeah. I was
wonderful.
I was like, do I have anything to add to this? No, I don't have anything to add to that.
So I guess we can officially start with let's just start at the beginning, which is technically the end.
Yes.
Which is the end of the world party, which was shot on 9/11, 2001, is when they were shooting that scene. Just a fun fact for you.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone was like, yeah, here we are filming this college party.
It actually helped, ironically, it helped their production because James Van Der Beek couldn't leave to go do Dawson after that because he would have had to have gotten on a plane to do that.
Yeah.
And since all planes were grounded for a while, he could stay.
He had no choice but to stay.
But to stay and finish shooting, and they didn't have to worry about scheduling and him going off 1 week and then coming back the next, whatever, to do Dawson's Creek because it was still going on at the time.
And I'm sure this movie killed Dawson's Creek for.
I think, for me, it's such brilliant, casting to cast
Dawson.
To cast James Van Der Beek as Sean Bateman and Jessica Biel as Laura.
Yeah.
Because she was doing Seventh Heaven at the time. And so it's these two characters that we know so well, or at least that audiences know so well from being these very wholesome.
I was just about to say wholesome.
Very innocent roles, right?
Yeah.
In these shows.
To
Rules of Attraction.
Yeah.
Which is this Bret Easton Ellis world, which is so different from everyone else's world.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, end of the world party.
I do love the way, as you were saying, the way we get to meet everybody that we need to is a very cool and unique editing style on how we get to know everybody. Especially, I really like it's almost like the journey of the keg, right? Because the keg gets mentioned or gets prominently featured in most of these stories or introductions. Which is so odd that they're introductions because it's at the end of the narrative, but which I like also. Yeah. Let's start with Lauren. I'm a huge fan of this actress, Shannon Sossamon. She's wonderful. I've seen her in 40 Days and 40 Nights. She's been in a few other things as well. Wrist Cutters.
I'm going to be honest. I meant to look up where I've seen her before, but I was just like, what? I'll look it up later. And I forgot.
That's right. She's great. Big fan, especially at this point in time. She's pretty big. She's pretty popular at this time, especially in movies kind of like this.
Yeah. Now, before we get into it, I want to say I think Laura has the worst of it. Lauren through the worst of it, especially at this point.
Yes.
Of course, but we have to see what happens for her to get to this point. But anyway.
Right. This movie technically begins with sexual assault and rape, right?
Yeah.
Which is very odd and sort of off-putting, but presented in this sort of darkly comedic way, which is it was sort of this bait and switch.
Yeah.
And then he vomits on her, which is so gross.
I know.
In the rated R version, you don't see it hit her. I don't know if you.
Oh, I guess I watched the unrated because I saw it.
Yeah. And
it hit her and then they rewound it.
Right. In the rated R version, it doesn't hit her. It's just him vomiting, right? And it stops there. So gross, man.
It is fucking gross.
It's gross vomit. I mean, it's pretty realistic. By the way, the film guy, which is offensive, by the way. I saw a lot of myself in him, and I don't like it because that's how I talk to people about movies. But
for sure, I was like, oh, God.
I feel like I'm being personally attacked. But he is actually talking about killing Zoe when he's talking to her and over her or under her narration. Which is Roger Avery's previous film.
Oh, see, I thought he was talking about Natural Born Killers.
No.
Because I'd heard him mention Tarantino, and then, it's not even his original vision. And I was like, he's talking about Natural Born Killers.
Right, talking about Natural Born Killers. I think he was discussing, like, Roger Avery's collaboration with Tarantino and then going into Killing Zoe and all that stuff. So anyway, which stars Eric Stoltz, by the way.
Dude.
So
fucking Eric Stoltz in this one.
Yes, her story is very tragic, right? Especially in the very beginning. And then we meet Paul. So Roger Ebert calls Paul bisexual. I don't think that's correct. I don't like that Roger Ebert did that because they insinuate that he's gay and he dated Lauren before he came out, right? It was my understanding.
But, yeah, see, okay. I read that too. I read that he is bisexual. And the only evidence of that is, I would say, him watching porn with Sean, but then at the same time, it's like...
Sean put that on.
Yeah, Paul doesn't really seem to care that it's on. So, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would say that he is gay. And just for the fact that throughout the entire narrative, he is falling and pursuing these straight guys.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, his main fault in his character, right? Is that he just keeps...
Real Joe Exotic over here.
Yeah, keeps pursuing... unsuccessful Joe Exotic, I would say. Because at least Joe got to turn... But he had meth.
Yeah, Joe had meth and tigers. So.
Right. So... Roger Avery calls Paul the moral center of the film, right? And, I guess I would have to agree he's the less reprehensible of everybody.
Yeah, Paul doesn't have a fall from grace sort of
No, his thing. Is more of his is sort of a very quick coming of age story where he is falling for these straight guys, and when he finally gets dumped by Sean, or I guess being blown off by Sean at the end, he's sad, but he's taking it in a very mature way. Yeah. Something that I don't think he would have done when we meet him in the beginning. Right? Yeah. I think that he is sort of, especially since he... Right before that, he gets blown off by that football player. Right?
Oh, yeah, that he was for sure like, yeah, dude, you're in the closet.
Yeah. And, what I love about this style of storytelling is we get a little bit of epilogue in the narration, which is he ended up being gay and just told people I couldn't get it up, right? It's that, which I love. And we also get a little bit of that with Laura where... like a week or whatever, the semester I left is when she had sex with the whole football team. Yeah. And now she's married to a senator, right? I love that, right? I love that style of this very quick epilogue. Here's where they're going, but here's where they are, right?
Right.
It's quick and I like it, and I just think it's world building. Anyway.
And then we meet Sean.
Sean is... definitely a Bateman.
Yeah. Oh, especially in this sequence, because he, I love that he calls himself a vampire. Like, I loved that. I was like, because you Batemans are vampires. Yeah. Like, and they play him very sinister in the beginning of it.
Yes, they do. especially with that shot of him glaring at Kate Bosworth's character.
Yeah, he's doing the Stanley Kubrick
He's
look.
doing the Kubrick stare for sure.
But then when we Tarantino it and we go to the beginning of their story to see how they get here, he's actually very
he's sort of broken down.
Yeah.
He at this point at the end, but our introduction for him, what we don't know is, how much he's gone through at this point. We do see he's beaten up, right?
Yeah, physically abused.
Yeah. But you're right. He's gone through a lot in a semester, right?
Yeah.
All these people have.
Yeah, and so, but we get this.
By the way, all these introductions are not my favorite, and we'll get to my favorite one later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But with Sean, I do like his introduction and his sequence of I could either do this, or this, right? And what he ends up doing, and then I just love the rhythm of the dialogue and the way it's written, right? I think Lauren's is my favorite out of the writing.
Yeah,
I like her narration more. But I think all of them are written in such a way that it doesn't really fit the maturity of their characters, right? Like they're speaking in these very eloquent and sort of, I guess, storytelling narrations, their thoughts.
But when we actually see how they're acting,
but their dialogue and their outward dialogue and their actions are just
awful.
Yeah, awful, and also immature and right. Oh, they're college kids.
Yeah,
right. Okay, so I loved the transition from the party to the beginning, right? So we see the snow come off the ground. We see the leaves bloom again. And go back on the tree. I really like that.
Yeah.
And then we sort of get in the rhythm of now we're starting. Let's get to that point, right?
Right. So this is probably I would say a month into their semester.
Yeah, I would say. I like that we don't have to go through setting up the notes in Sean's mailbox. I like that he's already been getting them. And when we see him open the mailbox, he's excited because another one has come in, right? I like that we just jump right in.
I also kind of called it that it was the cafeteria girl.
No, spoilers.
Spoilers. Yeah, I called it because maybe it's from watching too many movies.
I think before he opens it, we see her twice. So
we see him because he's passed out drunk in the quad. And he gets woken up by sprinklers.
Yeah.
And then he goes to get breakfast, and she's serving him breakfast, and he's just like really?
Yeah.
Like, this is all you're gonna give me? And then we see her hiding behind the tree when he walks by her to get to his dorm room to check his mail.
And, when I saw it the first time, I didn't realize how many times she was there.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until...
And then you do go back and she is there. I mean, it's not a joke.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until...
They're not reshoots.
Her death. And then I'm like, oh.
Right. But
anyway, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, and I loved that to even add more mystery to whoever this girl is. It's James's voiceover of reading the note.
Yeah. So, we don't get any clue as to who it is.
Yeah.
And we even get this little great edit with dialogue where, oh man, I forgot the phrase. Tonight's the night, right? That edit where he's reading it and it's those words over and over again. And then we cut to Lauren and Laura doing coke in their dorm room. And then she says, "Is tonight the night?" And she goes, "Yeah, tonight." And they're, by the way, Rusty Pipes, when her nose starts bleeding. That's a line of dialogue in Less Than Zero also.
Yes, I saw that too, which is
another Bret Easton Ellis.
Another Bret Easton Ellis book and movie that had RDJ in it.
Yes, and
James Spader.
The book and the movie is, I think, the worst adaptation.
Yeah, Bret Easton Ellis has also said he hates it except for Spader and Downey Jr. That those are the exceptions. The
movie's awful.
Well, he said. Well, I guess now he's kind of changed his tone a little bit.
It's awful because it's, I think, 1/10 of what the book is.
Oh, okay.
It's one story instead of, like in this one, they changed a lot from the book, but it's still the tone, the rhythm, and the
love triangle
amount of storytelling that's in the book is in the movie. Right. Like the amount of characters anyway.
But anyway, so we see kind of, so when we Tarantino it and go back to the beginning, we see everyone at their highest.
Yeah.
You would say. Some quite literally when James goes to visit his coke dealer, who I can't think of that guy's name, but...
Oh, he's been in a ton of stuff.
Ton of stuff. If anyone out there has seen, Boondock Saints 2,
Has anyone seen Boondock Saints 2?
He's Romeo. If anyone saw the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek, he's Eric Bana's right-hand man.
Oh, he was in the first season of Westworld. Actually, I think he's in the first 2 seasons of Westworld.
Yeah. But what was driving me so crazy is he, especially in this movie, he looks like Robert Downey Jr.
You think so?
100%, especially during this time where Robert was still heavily
at this time
coked out.
Yeah, and those scenes, on rewatches, I usually skip it because I'm like, I get it. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's a coke dealer. Okay.
I got it, man. Because I guess he's just so over the top.
Yeah.
Right? That I'm just kind of over it.
Well, yeah, I will say it was getting a little tiresome, especially with this whole you motherfucker. And okay.
He's just saying it so much.
Yeah.
Right? It is sort of obnoxious, but I mean, that goes with his character, right? He is super coked up, super upset.
I mean, yeah.
And just so amped.
He owes him $3,000.
That's a lot, apparently.
How much coke has he been taking?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot.
And which is so interesting that it's sort of, if you want to, retroactively go back and view Patrick Bateman's success, that if Sean is telling the truth and his parents really aren't well off, isn't that super interesting that...
yeah. Oh, yeah, because he says,
that Patrick makes it, to this elite yuppie lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that interesting, because Sean gives us a lot of different stories of where he comes from. And that is interesting if his family actually really is poor.
Or lower socioeconomic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially for Camden, which is a very high socioeconomic school.
Yes. Yeah, especially considering God damn it, dude. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, 'cause I didn't even write that down.
Yeah, because Patrick's, he's living that high life.
He is. And I think it makes sense that he would come from a lower socioeconomic because he does have this this sort of imposter syndrome that he doesn't belong, but he desperately wants to.
Oh my God, dude. You're fucking blowing my mind right now, dude. Because now it's what if that's why he fucking kills people?
I mean, I don't know if that's why he kills people, but...
No, he probably... God damn, dude. Bret Easton Ellis is going to call us when this episode comes out and be like, you guys get it.
We can contact his podcast whenever we want, I guess. But anyway, So yeah, Sean goes to see his guy, his coke dealer, or the guy he gets his coke from, supplier, and Paul is, I guess Paul's doing the yoga in the quad, but we later see him at that party. I forgot the names of the parties are great, and I forgot the name of this first one.
It's like a Burning Man.
It's that bonfire one, right?
Yeah.
Where we see that he is hitting on straight guys.
Yeah.
Right?
He hits on...
the guy that he hits on, it's insinuated that they've had a thing before.
Yeah.
Right? And we see him later when they go see the drug dealer in his car.
To all of our American Pie fans out there, it's Kevin from American Pie. I'm going to be honest, I really loved seeing him in another, even though I know it's not another sort of teen comedy, playing someone completely different from Kevin.
He's a total wuss, man. This guy's awful.
Sure. And I love that his name is Mitch, but I love that everyone just calls him Mitchell.
Yeah, Mitchell.
And I love it.
It's almost like
Yeah.
almost disrespectful. Because it's like, I don't know you well enough to call you Mitch.
Yeah.
You know?
Mitchell. Because, that's Sean's last words to him. Mitchell, you're a pussy.
That was a big old spit, too.
Yeah. People are just spitting on people in this movie, too.
Yeah, they are.
Anyway, so yes. Mitch tells Paul, I told you to leave me alone. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I assumed that Paul did something to skeeve him out, and so he pretty much was
maybe. I just assumed they had, maybe hooked up once, and maybe Mitchell was drunk. I'm gonna call him Mitchell also. Maybe Mitchell was drunk and whatever.
He doesn't get to call Mitch.
He's not cool enough. And
with that ugly ass Mercedes.
And then we do see, Paul's sort of struggle to try to connect with someone. Obviously he goes straight for, which I guess good for you, swing for the fences, but he goes straight for, a sort of romantic relationship immediately. Like he just immediately starts hitting on people, right?
Yeah, man. Homie
like he swings.
He goes all in, he dives head first.
Yeah, he does.
No little let me just test waters. Nah.
And this is sort of where it's another piece of evidence Sean doesn't have any money when he just caves because he doesn't have to pay for a meal.
Yeah, because they're talking about tacos.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, my treat. Yeah. Your treat?
You're paying?
You're paying? Yeah. And of course, since Sean is showing Paul just the littlest amount of attention, Paul's like,
he's the one, right?
This is it.
And he's, there's something about Sean. He's a bad boy. He's, and he's James Peterby.
Just like my man, Danny Zuko. There's something about the bad boy.
Yep. Yep, that's the comparison I would have made too. I was just about to, and then you did it. So that's.
But of course, Zook caves for his woman.
I hate this so much.
But he's because he already has the reputation around Camden as drug dealer.
Yeah, he does.
So he already has the bad boy reputation without really having to do anything.
One of my favorite scenes is when he meets Lauren at that tutorial.
Oh, dude.
On that Saturday.
I want to talk about the fucking shot for years.
It's amazing.
But yeah.
So, okay. At first, they're connected, obviously, because they're split, but we're watching them simultaneously, right? So, obviously, they're connected. But then, once we get to... They're in the same hallway. It's absolutely brilliant, Because
because they keep it split.
And they're talking to the camera, but at each other. And then, once we get the, the transition from split to full screen...
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Now, I will say, though, and this is just me being me, because she pulls his glasses off of his face, and then that's when we go from here to here.
Yeah.
She's standing very far away.
They both are, yeah.
So, did she walk up, take them off, and then walk back? Or...
I don't know.
Did she pull some, Space Jam wizardry and, stretch her arm, grab them up?
That's pretty funny.
It's just me poking holes, but I had to pause so I could gush over how dope that shot was.
Yeah, and of course the music they choose, which is this different version of Colors by Donovan, which I love.
Donovan, yeah.
Love Donovan. Love this version of Colors. Came out on iTunes, so you can try, but it's not even on the soundtrack, which there is a soundtrack, by the way.
You're just gonna have to rip it and grip it, my dudes.
Yeah, well, it's on the vinyl of his greatest hits. They use that version, which is dope. Yeah. It's in my office. Anyway, down there. So
it's all good.
But and then we get to see Sean decide that's the woman who's been leaving me notes.
Yes, and this is honestly also the one time we see Sean kind of vulnerable.
Yeah,
he lets his guard down and he's like, "That's her.
That's her," and I'm glad it's her. At least let's hope to God it's her, right?
Yeah.
And Lauren, I just love Lauren. I love that I think she might be my favorite character, only because, I mean, I think she's just kind of fun.
Well, and she is, you know, I'm not going to disagree with Roger Avery about Paul being the moral character of the movie, but Lauren also is sort of this...
No, I agree.
I'm trying to find a really good comparison, because almost pure person who is surrounded by terrible people, except for Paul.
And I think there's a reason that they both have this little talk
at the end.
I think there's a reason it's both of them and not and not Laura and not Victor. My favorite introduction, by the way, is Victor.
I was about to have a fucking aneurysm during his introduction.
It's my absolute favorite. I was
like, oh my God, is this not stopping yet?
I'm completely obsessed with it, and we're going to talk about it.
Okay, good.
But exactly, they're surrounded by these, as Roger Ebert said, reprehensible people.
100%.
But he thinks they are also reprehensible, which I'm not sure I agree with that. But, but of course, this movie is not made for someone Roger Ebert's age, right?
Right.
I think that, he said that a lot of these critics were over 40, but the movie's for people under 30.
Yeah.
And so if we are still.
Yes.
Fingers crossed forever, guys.
As of this recording,
we are both under 30.
We were both, 2 years under 30.
That's right.
But anyway, I get that. Yeah, because it's...
And of course, since we were under 30, I think when we saw it, we will always love it. It's not like we're going to change our minds when we're 40.
As soon as I turn 30, oh, no, I hate this movie.
I hate this movie. That's not what's going to happen. But it's for this generation, right?
No, I agree. I feel like if I were to show this movie to, my dad, I for sure think he would hate it.
Dad has seen this movie. And in fact, I called him, I think it was last week, and he goes, hey, I saw that Rules of Attraction movie on the other day. It was when Fred Savage...
sticks the
cigarette in his belly button and plays and does heroin in his toes. And I was like, yeah, that's a good scene.
And what did he say about it?
He was like, yeah, it was all right. He can appreciate that it's strange, and he can appreciate some of the stuff about it, but it's not for him, and he knows it.
Yeah, but yeah. So anyway, the point I was making is that Laura is, like I said, almost... I wouldn't say she's purely pure, especially with the whole her and Laura doing coke together. But, she is innocent. That's the word. Because she is more innocent than everyone else, especially because she's a virgin.
Technically.
What do you mean technically?
I mean, she gives Eric Stoltz a blowjob and technically, she's not I'm saying she's done stuff. I'm saying she still got her hymen intact, but I'm saying that's what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. But anyway, I agree. She's sort of this manic pixie dream girl, but in a very unique way where she does keep that innocence about herself, but still participates in all of this other, what Roger Ebert would say, debauchery. Right?
I was just about to say debauchery.
Which is, cocaine, weed, blowing your professor.
Blowing Eric Stoltz. Not even mask Eric Stoltz.
Yeah, handsome Eric Stoltz.
Not even 2 months of Back to the Future Eric Stoltz. We made that joke last week.
Oh, God.
Or was it last hour? We've already made that joke. But hang on. We just got to talk about it now. Yeah, Eric Stoltz.
His character is so wild.
He is the... fucking creepy professor. Most people
sleaziest guy.
Stay the fuck away from. Like, oh yeah, who did you get for this? I got him. Oh, dude. If you want to pass him weed. Oh,
but he's at all the parties. He's banging all the co-eds,
dude, for sure.
Well, because he was with Kate Bosworth at one of the parties. This is, of course, before the end of the film when she meets up with Sean, but. She's in. They're at one of the parties. Anyway, doesn't matter. They're in a hammock and they're smoking weed or whatever. Doesn't matter.
But yeah, Eric Stoltz is, for what little screen time he gets. Props to him, my man.
I kind of like to think it's his character from Pulp Fiction, but he got a degree and he started teaching.
That I love that.
Yeah.
That after seeing a woman almost OD on his floor, he was like, I gotta get a degree.
But he didn't stop doing drugs himself.
Stopped doing drugs and ditched
Arquette and and it's just like, hey man, whatever. That's kind of fun. So
yeah. Anyway, back to everyone else.
Back to everybody else.
Yeah, man. So, and I love that through the lens of these three parties, right? Three parties.
Might
Four
be
parties.
3 or 4. Yeah, because there's also the Dress to Get Screwed party. There's the
it's the End of the World party is the last one. The Burning Man one is the first one.
The party before the Saturday Night Party.
So 4?
I don't know.
Let's just say 4.
It was a bunch.
But I love through these parties we get to see how everyone is virtually changing,
progressing.
And
or changing, I guess. It doesn't necessarily mean progressing.
And
right.
Like I think the party, the Where to Be Screwed party is where it literally screws. I wasn't trying to make a pun, but
you did.
But it literally.
Well, you didn't. We're all mad at you.
It that's when the movie, in my opinion, the drama finally starts
and shifts, right?
Yeah.
Because that's when he and Laura hook up.
Because he's high on shrooms.
Because he is high on shrooms.
And she's throwing him flirty eyes. And poor Sean's mushroom-filled brain can't say no to Jessica Biel throwing flirty eyes.
In lingerie. None of us could.
I laughed my ass off when Lauren walks in and he's like, I only did it with her because I'm in love with you.
Yeah.
Did
you also laugh when he said, "What does fucking someone else mean? I'm not loyal to you."
Yes.
It's so
because that's
silly.
when he punches Jessica Biel
in the face. Yeah.
Because not saying she deserved it.
I'm saying she deserved it,
but she deserved it.
100%.
Like she was like making it like it's his fault. Like, bitch, no.
Yeah. Takes two to tango, bitch.
Yeah, you were throwing flirty eyes, and you knew 100% what you were doing.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. I want to get this out now. Jessica Biel's character is a fucking bitch.
Yeah, she's pretty awful.
When Lauren finds her and Victor hooking up, she's not like upset about it.
Was that her, by the way? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, she's still kind of blurred, but you can still make out Jessica Biel's face, and she just like fucking waves at her, like, "Oh hey, no, not like we didn't want you to find out this way." No, she's unapologetic. Like, yeah, I'm fucking your boyfriend.
God, I love that you do that in quotes because it's such Victor's so odd. His character arc is very odd, and
he learns nothing from anything.
No, Victor is sort of his own person.
He kind of gets away with pretty much everything. Everything that he does, he pretty much gets away with.
Getting away with it. He didn't really do anything. But anyway,
except for not getting his weed or his coke.
Yeah, he didn't get, or at least, we never found out if he got his coke. Because he gave it to Mitchell.
Fuck Mitchell.
Yeah, fuck Mitchell.
Mitchell, you're a pussy.
Okay, I want to talk about Paul and Richard.
Okay, Dick.
So I almost started this episode with, all right, guys, we're about to go to Gangbang 101, Oral Sex Workshop, and Freebase Tutorial. So this sequence is very odd, and it's sort of out of place.
Yeah.
But I am obsessed with it because I think it's hilarious.
Oh, it's fucking hilarious.
And I've seen that actor who plays Dick in other things, and all I can see is him going, "Have a good one!"
I'm not going to lie. For 5 seconds, I thought it was Matt Damon.
Oh, did you? That's funny.
Because he from the profile, he looks a little bit like Matt.
You think so?
But then I was like, then I looked it up. I was like, oh, it's not Matt Damon.
So it's, I guess, implied that they've had a history, Paul and Dick.
Yeah.
And I am obsessed with the George Michael sequence.
Yes, with them in their underwear dancing.
And I think what's so crazy about the scene is Faye Dunaway's in the scene, and she's Paul's mom.
Yeah.
And it's Faye Dunaway. I don't know if she's won an Academy Award, but she's been in Academy Award nominated films like Mommy Dearest and Bonnie and Clyde. And so it's seeing Faye Dunaway.
You're just like, why?
It's so strange that she's in it. But them at the dinner table is hysterical because Dick is out of his mind.
He for sure has been coked up for 5 days straight. Or at least drunk for 5 days straight.
And I don't think he's at Camden.
I don't think they say. I
don't think so either, because they imply that the school is, or at least his mom is like, the school has ruined you, right? Like, look what they've done to you. Because, they imply that he hasn't been like this his whole life, right?
I highly doubt that.
And I just, he's... Kale and I every now and then will go, no, I will not leave the table. We'll do that. We'll, bang on the table, tell everyone to have a good one. This movie's changed our lives. At least the scene has changed our lives.
Well, and I just love how even his name makes his mom's skin crawl.
Yeah.
Richard. It's not my name.
Not my name.
My name is Dick.
He really doesn't know.
And then she's like, Dick.
Well, I've seen this woman before in a lot of other things as well.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, great character actress. But then you get to see, it's this cool comparison that happens where we see Richard,
Dick,
go completely bananas, right, and leave. But, before that, when they were upstairs singing George Michael, they were doing pills and shit. Which I love. The Faye Dunaway's like, what is it? She goes, doesn't matter. No.
Yeah.
They pass it in and they're drinking, and they're very higher socioeconomic. They would be, as we discussed in length in our American Psycho episode, they're yuppies, right? And so they're a different kind of insufferable, right?
Yeah.
I think that, I don't think the school has ruined Dick.
Oh, it's for sure his mother.
His mother has, right?
And Paul, if Paul's not careful, he will be on that same way.
I think so, and I think this is when his maturity starts to
kick in.
Yeah, exactly, because he sees the trajectory he's possibly on
with Dick and his mother.
Yeah, and with it's sort of like a wake up call, and the fact that he keeps getting shut down by Sean.
Yeah, and thinks now that Sean is cheating on him with some guy named Patrick.
Right.
Which I was like, I felt like Leo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like,
yeah.
Who is this? Patrick?
This is Patrick.
I was like, because I think at that point, sidebar, I think at that point, because we just know him as Sean, and then I think someone calls him Bateman at one point, and then that's when you're like,
Sean Bateman.
Wait, as in,
which again only works in movie form, because if we were to do this in literary form, it would be the opposite, because we would meet Sean first. Wouldn't we?
No, we meet Patrick first. Because Rules of Attraction came out first, the book.
Yeah.
And we meet Patrick for like one chapter.
Oh, okay.
And then American Psycho came out. And
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we meet Sean first in book form.
Right.
Right? Literary form, we meet Sean first. So it's sort of weird that it's sort of this opposite.
Yeah, that we meet Patrick Bateman first.
Which makes me think that this movie, I guess, takes place in the early 80s. Or the narrative in the book takes place in like the early 80s.
Yes.
Or late 70s.
Yes, which because I'm not gonna lie, I caught that as a bit of an anachronism a little bit there, because the movie Rules of Attraction takes place in, I guess, the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But American Psycho, even though it was released in 2000,
takes place in the mid 80s.
In the mid 80s.
Yeah.
So which means Patrick would be in his early 40s.
Yeah.
By this point.
Right. So it's cool that in literary form it's the opposite.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So yeah, and I noticed that very early in Dick and Paul's scene, is that it's also not meant to be. It's meant to show us a comparison between Dick and Paul and their mothers, but also Dick and his mother versus Paul and his mother.
Yeah.
And so I agree that like Paul, it was a wake up for Paul.
And, you know, it's... don't think we see him act in any sort of promiscuous, sort of unsolicited promiscuous way again, I don't think, because he does in the very beginning to everybody.
Yeah, pretty much everyone. Yeah, you know,
right?
he kind of...
I guess except for the very end with that football player, right?
Yeah.
That was his last sort of swing and a miss.
Do you think that was his last, like, you know what, if this works, great. If not, I need to stop.
I also think that he sort of knew it wasn't gonna.
Yeah.
I think that he was sort of punishing himself, maybe, a little bit. Anyway. So, let's see what I've written down.
So, okay. So, do you want to talk about the shock and awe that everyone has to deal with? The scene right after Lauren catches Laura and Sean.
Are we talking
The poor cafeteria.
The poor cafeteria girl? Yeah, so...
Because I feel like this is what also starts to corrode Lauren's view of Sean. More than sleeping with her roommate has.
And, you know, it occurs to me that I don't think she fully grasps or even has any inclination of this girl's infatuation with Sean.
Yeah.
I think that... Because, you know, at the end when Paul asks her about the notes, she goes, what are you talking about? Right? So it's not that she was like, no, it was her. Right? And by the way, Lauren knows this girl because we see a picture of both of them in the dorm room. Right?
Yeah.
Which they're friends in real life, by the way.
Okay.
They were actually roommates during that time. So that's a real picture of them.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, they're also in a band together. It doesn't matter. So...
shout out to their band.
Yeah, shout out to their band. I didn't write it down. So...
But, you know, like, this is such a traumatic moment for Lauren.
Yes.
Finding her, you know, all the more of Sean's immaturity of trying to kill himself.
Yeah, and then sort of fakes it, which is sort of odd. It's odd behavior, right?
Yeah, it's very much.
Well, it's immature.
It's immature, and it's very much, you know, like, well, I'll show them. If I'm dead, then they'll care, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of attitude.
Which is immature, right?
Which is immature, but of course, had he not done that, because she was going there to talk to him.
Yeah.
Had he not done that, if he would just waited for 5 more minutes, they probably could have patched it.
Yeah, and
he could have gotten what he wanted.
And I think, you know, that's probably also a change in Sean. Where I think he realizes that, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't have this sort of switch like Lauren and Paul have. I think he's still sort of Sean.
Oh, right up until the end, yeah.
Yeah. And so we get there eventually. We get to him sort of realizing his mistake and realizing his immaturity to a certain extent near the end. And when, you know, he's chasing after her and then sitting in the bleachers in the snow and all that.
Yeah.
But once Lauren is sort of heartbroken about Sean, and finds the girl, which I don't even think she has a name.
I think she's just cafeteria girl.
Yeah, finds the girl in the bathtub, which, by the way, rated R version doesn't show her cutting her wrist, just shows a reaction to it.
Then I did for sure watch the unrated version.
Well, the easiest way you can tell is the Jamaican guy, is the magazine blurred? Because they literally blur the front of the magazine, the porn mag he's reading.
I think it's a little bit blurred.
Oh, well, then maybe, I don't know.
Anyway.
So, once she's heartbroken, you know, then we get to possibly my favorite scene, and that's Victor's. And we get to meet Victor.
Because we've been hearing so much about Victor and how he's abroad and how when he gets back, she's going to lose her virginity to him. Because she, spoiler, Lauren has maintained this idea that her and Victor are still dating.
Yeah. And not only are they still dating, but then she, you know, uses that textbook to deter her from going out, right? Because she doesn't want to tarnish this relationship that she believes that she has, right?
Right.
And also, this is sort of now that we're talking more about Lauren, this is sort of what makes Irreversible the way it is, to where we know it happens to her. And so when she talks about how her fantasy of how she wants to lose her virginity, we know how she loses it.
Right.
And so we just feel so bad for her.
Well, especially because in her open narration, she mentions how she wanted it to be Victor, but he'd already been sleeping with Laura.
Right.
So.
And that... Oh, I guess you're right. So I guess that was Laura.
Bow!
Good job. And, she goes, deep down, I always knew it was going to be like this. Right? That she was destined for this disappointment and, this sort of letdown. So that, how Irreversible works, where it's just now the rest of the movie's dread for them. This is just a little bit of heavy sympathy for Lauren anytime she talks about it, because we know what happens, right?
Right. So we meet Victor.
Victor's is my favorite because of what drove you crazy, which is how
fast it is. Which, we should mention his whole studying abroad. Motherfucker was partying hard.
Yeah.
The entire time.
Yeah, and it's based on Roger Avery's journals from when he was abroad.
Oh, okay.
And then they went and shot this on location. Basically shot a movie's worth of footage of Victor's character, or, this actor. I forgot his name. Kip something.
Wasn't he in Remember the Titans?
Yeah.
He was the guy who could kick good. Who they called him Pretty Boy, then he called their bluff when he kisses one of them in the shower.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they're like, "Oh, get Pretty Boy," and he was like, "Okay."
Well, and he is. So
but he's also an asshole in this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so homie was high and drunk the entire time. He was trekking all over Europe.
I think my favorite part is the dialogue, is the narration, and that it's sped up a little bit, right? Because he's not the Micro Machines guy. No one's talking that fast. Yeah. And of course the fast pace and the editing style of all the footage, and how they managed to create this narrative from this footage that seems pretty random to me. Like, if they were to... Because since this was based on Roger Avery's sort of journals and time in Europe, it's not in the book. And so, coming up with this, string of events in this order, it's sort of like, I don't know what they had to do first. Like, did they film all the footage and then come up with all of this, or did they come up with all of it and then film the footage? I don't know.
I would say they probably wrote what he was going to say, and then they're like, all right,
go.
Yeah,
and it's awesome. And the footage style and the cinematography is completely different because it seems homemade.
Yeah, which even though it drove me crazy, I did appreciate that. Like, it's filmed probably on a handheld camera.
Yeah.
It's what a college student would probably bring home to his friends. Like, dude, like, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this.
Right.
So that I appreciated, but Jesus Christ. And it goes on for so long.
Yeah, it goes on for a while.
If I had a complaint, it would be that. I didn't like that.
Unbelievable. It's my favorite part.
But I understand why they had to do it. To show us how awful Victor really is.
Well, and how deep he got into it, and how much it changed him. Because even at the end, he says, I have no idea who I am, and I'm a ghost of a completely different person.
But then when we see him in the very next scene, he's like, yeah, man, it was great. It was great. Yeah.
I know, which is hilarious, right? It's sort of what makes this such a dark comedy is that juxtaposition between this very,
introspective, like, I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah, this philosophical, introspective whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes, it was dope.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
Yo, you got to. And then, of course, Mitchell's like,
I gotta
go.
Oh, man, I've got to.
I'm so there, bro.
If you're there, that means you're not really there. It's like, and a very hippy-dippy thing to say to Mitchell, too. Fuck Mitchell.
Yeah, and then fuck Victor. So...
and I guess, and here's what I never don't get about this scene, is Sean's hanging out with them.
Yeah.
But then Victor's like, when Sean's going to go pick up their Coke for him, he's like, I don't trust you.
I think it's, they're like frenemies.
Yeah. Well, because Sean can get them Coke, even though Victor and Mitchell both are too big of pussies to go do it themselves.
Well, and it's, like this great Tom Segura joke where he talks about, I've never in my life invited the pizza guy into my apartment and give him some of the pizza, but you do that with drug dealers. So it's like you don't hang out with the pizza guy when he comes to deliver your pizza, but you do with the drug dealer. And so I think it's sort of that relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
Where they're sort of just chilling with the guy they can get coke from.
Well, and I love how Sean is trying to make Victor jealous by like, yeah, I'm in love with this girl, because he knows like, oh, you're Lauren's boyfriend,
right?
But he's like, but this is our early tell that Victor has no idea who he's talking about.
Yeah, and this is when we get this very odd interaction where Lauren finds out that they're sleeping together, him and Laura, is when he either pretends not to know who she is
or has
genuinely doesn't know.
I'm going to say genuinely doesn't know.
Okay.
Because I think he's that much of a scumbag.
You think that he...
will do all those European drugs fried his brain, man.
That's what I was thinking. And, it's sort of like also... He was telling the truth where he's like, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know, like, what... Like, that seemed like a piece of genuine dialogue from him.
Yeah.
In that very Fast and Furious scene.
Yeah.
But then you could also read it as Lauren was sort of delusional in her... what she thought was a relationship with Victor.
I was just about to say, so you think that she was reading too much into...
Maybe.
What they had. See, okay. Here's the thing. Seeing, again, I know this film is not a teen comedy, but seeing a lot of raunchy teen comedies, that makes sense. That maybe Victor showed her a little bit of attention. They hung out every now and then, and she misinterpreted what she thought what friendship was as a relationship.
And then not even friendship, because he may have only known her like as an acquaintance too.
Yeah.
So there was, I didn't see a picture of both of them together.
Just a picture of him and her.
Yeah. Right, in that weird frame.
Bejazzled heart frame.
Yeah, heart or butterfly frame. I don't know what it was.
I think it was a butterfly.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway.
But yeah, man, I
would say either one would work. That she read way too much into it, but then that would, of course, make Lauren out to be kind of an idiot. And
as we've seen, is an idiot.
And as we've seen, she's not an idiot.
Right, that makes sense.
So I would say maybe it's more he partied his ass off.
It's just
so
the
hard.
Oddest thing, right?
Or maybe he's just that much of a scumbag. He's like, pretending. Yeah, I don't know who you are. Sorry.
I'm sorry, but it's good to see you.
It's good to see you. I'm gonna have sex with your roommate now.
Yeah, he doesn't know it's a roommate. He doesn't know who she is. Anyway,
the audience doesn't know that.
The audience doesn't know that. You're right. But Victor is the most deplorable. He is the most reprehensible. And so
absolutely.
When Roger Ebert is talking about all of these horrible, rich snobs that are also awful people, I think Victor is the epicenter of that. He is,
for sure.
He is the beacon that is...
he is the lighthouse that draws them all in.
Yeah, he's so terrible, yeah.
100%. Yeah. I 100% would agree. Yeah, he's the fucking worst.
And I think that they mentioned, because Roger Ebert mentioned it in his his whatever.
His review. Thank you.
That Victor had a relationship with Paul at one point.
Interesting.
It's not so much a love triangle as this thing is like a love hexagon, because or like a decahedron. Because, we have Paul...
Look, it's just a 10-sided die in Dungeons and Dragons.
Because Paul has a dodecahedron, everybody knows that. Paul... I learned that from Futurama. Paul's in love with Sean, but has had a relationship with both Lauren and Victor, if Roger Ebert is correct.
Okay.
I didn't catch Victor mentioning Paul, or anyone else mentioning Paul and Victor being together. I didn't catch that, but maybe I just haven't in all the times I've watched this movie. I don't know.
Well, I might need to rewatch it now, because now that makes me kind of curious.
Right. And then of course Lauren is trying to save herself for Victor, but is falling for Sean. Sean is falling for Laura, but has a relationship or
falling for Lauren,
but has sex with Laura, but is unknowingly falling for the cafeteria girl through these notes, right? Mm-hmm. It's all weird, right?
Yeah,
and which is, more realistic than a love triangle, I think. In terms of the complexity of human relationships and human emotions, I think that fits better than a normal teen movie, right?
Yeah, as where, like, American Pie, which kind of reset a precedent for raunchy teen comedy in the 90s.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's not a love triangle in that movie, but, I mean, these high schoolers are dealing with one relationship at a time.
Right.
And it's, I mean, like, yeah, that's very high school, but I remember in high school hearing stories of people, like, it wasn't just two people, it was...
I wouldn't know. I didn't talk to girls. So, which is true. So anyway.
I mean, I didn't talk to girls either, but I had friends who were gossipers.
I had friends who talked to girls. And
Man.
I had friends who met girls before, and that was cool. I had never met a girl.
God, we sound like the lamest people.
I had met a girl until
last week?
Yeah, until I met Haley. And so,
oh my God.
Yeah.
She's going to see this and she'll be like, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, probably. Anyway.
But no, I really like that you said that, because it does feel more realistic. And as we've already talked about in this season, your boy digs realism in movies.
Yeah, and this is in terms of this very strange representation of a story in the way that it's, in the way it's put together.
Yeah.
It's ironic that the relationships in it are sort of based in realistic expectations and outcomes, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I really dig this movie a lot.
So do I, man.
So, okay. Okay. The movie ends where it begins.
At the end of the world party.
At the end of the world party, which is, I like that it's called the end of the world party, because not only is it the end of the movie, which is, whatever, but it's also the end of... It's sort of the end of the way these people were living for so long. You could feel like these characters had been on this trajectory for a while, and then for some reason, which we know all the reasons, but this semester has really changed their lives in unique ways that they weren't expecting, right? And which is a sort of interesting take on the coming of age story, where that summer, I completely...
Summer we'll never forget.
Right, and I completely changed, right? This is sort of a semester long, which is longer than a summer. And then they don't do a 180, which I hate.
Yep.
But they have slowly matured, some of them, at least Paul and Lauren, right?
Well, you wouldn't say Sean matured?
I mean, Sean did a little bit.
I mean, because as we learn, what he actually did at the end of the world party... He ripped up all the notes, seeing Laura go upstairs with the film guy. But instead of approaching Kate Bosworth and offering to take her back to his dorm room and make her cry with
Singing,
his
Counting Crows.
Yeah. He decides to put down his bottle of Jack and leave.
And go. Where, we don't know.
Yeah. Showing that he has grown and realizing, like, I'm done. Yeah,
I'm sort of done manipulating people and being this emotional vampire. I want to go off and be better, maybe?
Question mark?
Question mark. And I love it cuts him off mid-sentence.
Yeah. Which I wasn't expecting, and I was like, you motherfucker, but damn, that was so good.
It was good, right? And then, of course, the
credits roll backwards. Anyway. And we've seen why, and see, I think that was the biggest surprise for me. I was like, well, I know what's going to happen now, but then seeing Sean turn around and walk away, I was like, oh,
that was just one of his, what should I do? Right.
but opting to be like, you know what?
Forget it. None of it.
It's time to grow up.
None of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I was like, that's so cool. I did, again, kind of poking holes. We see Lauren after her unfortunate film. So I guess we're meant to assume she cleaned herself up afterwards.
Oh yeah, I assume so. Yeah, I think she did.
Because she comes back
Wouldn't
out
you?
fully clothed. I mean, yeah.
Wouldn't you? Yeah.
Fully clothed, smoking her cigarette, and there's
Because her hair's a little different too, which means that she probably went to the bathroom and washed her face and head, right? Because
I would have. Yeah. Poor Lauren.
Poor Lauren, man. Lauren, I think hers is the most tragic, and I think you're right. With Roger Avery saying that Paul is the moral epicenter, I think that he shares that equally with Lauren. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I love how they talk about Sean without ever saying his name.
Yeah,
because wasn't he like you were in love with him too?
Yeah. And then, then he's there on his motorcycle, right? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I think one of my favorite things about Sean's story is he never gets to find out that that Lauren didn't write those notes. Yeah. She never explicitly said that wasn't me, right? And the only time when we get, obviously we knew already, but where we get her say outright is just to Paul. Yeah. That I don't know what notes you're talking about.
Like I never wrote anyone notes.
Right. But Sean doesn't know that. Sean still thinks
it was Lauren.
It was Lauren who wrote those notes.
But
so he never gets closure for that.
But we don't know what even happens to Sean.
Who knows?
Did he crash? Did he?
No, he's fine. He's in American Psycho.
Yeah.
By the way, I believe we talked about it in the American Psycho episode, but there is a scene in American Psycho where Patrick says rock and roll because that's what Sean says all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's to make up for Sean not being in the movie, that they just had him say rock and roll.
When was that?
I'm trying to remember the scene, but I can't. But he does say it, or someone says it.
I saw a very terrible cut when I was trying to find the deleted scene of Patrick in this movie. Mm-hmm. Saw a very terrible cut where it's the scene in American Psycho where Patrick's talking to Chloe Sevigny.
Oh yeah.
And she wants to go to Dorsia, and so he calls Dorsia, and they cut to James Vanderbeek on the payphone. I was like, that's okay, no. Like, because I thought it was like, holy shit, like, was that a deleted scene? Because I've seen American Psycho backwards and forwards, so I was like, holy shit. And I was like, oh, you motherfucker. And so I went back. But I do want to talk about the deleted scene just for a second.
Sure, yeah. I have not seen the deleted scene, by the way.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Considering
I know it's
not Christian Bale.
No, it's not.
The actor they got...
Does he play it like Christian Bale?
He almost plays him very, very sinister, actually.
Okay.
But I think it's meant to be... He's annoyed that Sean is calling.
Oh, okay.
So it takes place right after the Fred Savage scene.
Okay.
And Sean is like, you're going to have to call Patrick. See if he can loan you the money. And so he goes to the payphone. He's like, don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. And he calls. And we see Patrick in his nice-ass office recording a voice memo about, I'm assuming, a victim. And his assistant, what's Chloe Sevigny's character's name in American Psycho?
I don't remember.
Because it's the same name.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, his assistant's like, you have a collect call from Camden. I think it's your brother. And he's like, okay. And he sits down and she's like, is there anything else I can get you? And he's like, well, he asked her to research laser hair removal for her.
That's fine.
And she's like, what? And he's like, hair removal with lasers. And she's like, oh, okay. And is there anything else I can get you? And he's like, a Perrier. And then he talks to Sean, And he's like, what do you want? Like, already very annoyed having to talk to his little brother. And he's like, I need some more money. And he's like, what happened to the $7,000 I put in your account?
Yeah. And
he's like, where's that? And we get a little bit of an idea of what's going on in their family life, because Sean asks him, how's dad? He goes, as good as anyone could be, hooked up to a bunch of tubes.
Okay.
So implying, I guess, their dad is sick. And then Patrick is pretty much kind of taunting Sean about, like, you know, you're at this college, and he's like, I called your advisor. You haven't gone to any of your classes. And he's like, you talked to my advisor? He's like, yeah, I did. And Sean's like, well, what do you want me to do, Patrick? Do you want me to do what you do? And Patrick goes, you wouldn't comprehend half the things I can do. Which I was like,
that's so lame.
That's dumb. Well, then it ends with Sean going, so you won't give me the money? And Patrick goes, no. And good acting for James Van Der Beek, but he's like, well, then fuck you. And he slams the...
Oh, yeah.
And then that's where it ends.
So I can see why they cut it.
Yeah.
Because it sort of grinds it to a halt, because it's like, you know, they probably just wanted this to stand alone. They don't want it to... They want it to be connected in a very subtle way to American Psycho, right?
Which I think they do good with... who is this? Is this Patrick?
Exactly. I think it's perfect, right? Because at first, when I saw it, I go, oh, Bateman, he must really like that last name.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even have occurred to me that they were brothers. And then when he said, is this Patrick? I go, what the fuck? You know?
Yeah.
And I loved it, because it's what I love about Stephen King is that we get characters from different books and other ones, right? Like Victor is in another book that he wrote called Glamorama.
Okay.
And, you know, Sean and Paul are in American Psycho. And then two characters from... It's Blair and... from Less Than Zero are in Rules of Attraction. And so I just like that, you know, these characters sort of intermingle.
Well, and of course, Bret Easton Ellis is also a character in his own universe, too. Which I think is kind of funny. But anyway... But
did you read Roger Avery wanted Bret Easton Ellis to play Patrick?
And he was like, no,
thank you. I would have said no too, bro.
Well, and you know, and I recently watched an interview with James Van Der Beek, and he said how, because he was asked, like, did you read Rules of Attraction? And this is recent, like, because you know, James lives in Austin now.
I've seen him. I've seen him in Austin.
Wait, like, really?
Yeah. So
did you go up to him and be like, "Yo, no. Dawson"?
We were on the highway, and there was a car in front of us, and he was driving so fucking slow. And so Kale and I were like, "Dude, fucking move!" And when he finally got over, we're like, "Jesus Christ!" And we're like, "Oh, it's fucking James Van Der Beek."
Oh my god.
James Van Der Beek drives like a bitch, but
dude, no, he was gonna be our best subscriber.
Oh, well, that's over.
But anyway, so he was asked, like, did you read the Rules of Attraction book to get ready for the role? And he was like, well, no, I didn't. I trusted Roger Avery's word. He was like, but I did read American Psycho. Because he felt that helped him mold Sean the way he did, because he's like, you know, that's your big brother right there.
Yeah.
And he's like, and that's always going to be looming over Sean. Even though it's implied that Sean doesn't know what Patrick actually does. He's like, but, you know, that's still looming over you. He's like, your big brother does that. And he was like, but that really helped me. He was like, you know, I read a couple things from Rules of Attraction. He was like, but I was too worried that if I read the book, I wouldn't play it the way Roger wanted me to.
It would infer his acting. Yeah, I get that.
And yeah, man, and you can see it. You can kind of see that little bit of like your big brother, not knowing your brother's a serial killer,
but you know, he's like this big old fat cat yuppie up in,
is kind of looming over your life, and it's man, I dug it.
I did too, and you know, we can end on, since we're talking about behind the scenes stuff, we can talk about the marketing.
Yes, because you told me that the marketing was awful.
Well, yeah, because I mean, they're marketing it as this
teen comedy.
Typical teen comedy. And you go and see it and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Which, as I mentioned off mic, one of the reviews I found called it the death of the teen comedy. This film killed the teen comedy.
And a lot of it was, the actual physical, poster art, like the actual material that people were viewing before they see it.
Yeah.
Is sort of nonsense because it's, to be fair, it is very hard to market this movie. I get that.
Yeah.
But I like that if you can see the teddy bear poster is probably the best way to do it. In terms of what's this movie, right? What is this?
Yeah.
It's like, this looks very weird. There you go. Right?
Yeah.
It's not what you are going to expect.
As where, the poster that I think iTunes has is the chopped one with everyone's face.
He calls it, Roger Avery calls it the Saved by the Bell poster.
Oh my God.
Because it's so bright and colorful and you get the stars up there like Jessica Biel and James Van Der Beek and, you guys watch Seventh Heaven and Dawson's Creek and, and then you go see it and you're like, what is Dawson doing?
Why is he trying to hang himself?
Exactly. Which, by the way, I don't know what brand of hook that is, but that needs to be their marketing strategy because that stayed up there for a while.
Yeah. Why is Dawson trying to slit his wrist with a safety blade?
Hilarious.
He tries after...
So silly. And then he pees himself.
Yeah, because doesn't he take a bunch of cold medicine?
Tons of cold medicine and ibuprofen.
I know, and it just knocks him out, and he's like, typical. Anyway.
But yeah, man, I am really glad you dug this movie because it's a cool one, man.
Well, I mean, so shout out to our American Psycho episode. I mean, I love the American Psycho movie, and of course, as I showed you the song from that band I like, Ice Nine Kills wrote a song, American Psycho, and I feel like for the movie at least, that song really encapsulates the movie. And I will read the book because I love Bret Easton Ellis. I think, we've done 2 of his movies already. I
think that might be it for me.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see Less Than Zero. I mean, I love Downey, but I don't know if I want to see that.
I like Andrew McCarthy. I like James Spader, but to me, I know too much about how much it isn't the book, right? Yeah. And there's something about that, because in terms of adaptations, for some reason, which is like a lot of people, if you find out that it's nothing like the book, it sort of infers your perception of it, and then you're like, well, it must be bad. That doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. It not being like the book and it being bad are totally different ideas.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's take a movie Alex and I talk about all the time, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that they had to trim from the books, but those movies aren't bad.
They're amazing.
They are awesome.
They're
Amazon,
incredible.
Don't fuck this up.
They're incredible, right? And so, and or we could take, I'm thinking of Ending Things, which,
oh my God,
they act as more companion pieces, right?
Rather than
just like you can do either or. It's like no.
Kaufman's like, no, fuck that shit.
But as much as they had to take out and change in Rules of Attraction, Ellis,
I was about to say, didn't he
loves it.
Yeah, didn't he sign off on this and American Psycho? Signed off on.
I think American Psycho later, but this one he said that this is my favorite. It's not exactly like the book, but it encapsulates the theme and the tone. This is the story, right? This is how it should be told. Mm-hmm. And so, there's something to be said about, capturing what the author is wanting to invoke, right?
Yeah.
In the book, but in movie form, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Loved it.
I mean, I bought it on iTunes today just so I could watch it at work and take notes. My bosses don't listen to this, do they?
You're supposed to be helping students.
I do, but I was caught up, and I would pause it and answer the phone.
And of course now you have an actual office, so you can So you can have your phone propped up and be like acting like you're typing and like.
Oh, I don't act like I type. That's crazy. No, I prop it up and I'll watch it, and I'll answer emails while I'm watching, and I do actually do my job. And then if the phone rings or if a student comes in, I pause it and I talk to him, and it's easy base.
They come in right when it's like,
oh, I did turn it down a couple of times, but
you motherfucking yes. What can I help you?
Yeah, how can I help you? Yeah. I work at a college, by the way, and it's not like that.
Man, what colleges are they going to?
I don't know. All right, Rain.
So normally we do the wrap up, but we already did.
We kind of just did.
Wrap up.
So I'm excited to find out what we are discussing next week.
I have gone back and forth again, because now that I've gotten the movie that I knew you weren't going to like out of the way, it's time to get back on track.
Yay.
Pick some movies that I have a feeling you'll like. I tried. I was like, man, which one do I want to do? Because I have a lot. Considering, I want to participate in the Strange Films, and of course, also being a big fan of Tim Burton, I'm like, perfect, I can pick some Tim Burton movies.
Sure.
But I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to do a Tim Burton movie yet.
Okay.
So I decided.
I'll go shit.
So I decided today, I was like, you know what? Some do know a time travel movie.
Oh, I love time travel.
So, and I've been thinking about this one a lot, and it's strange in the sense of if you really... And I want us to talk about it, if you really think about what's happening outside of the movie.
Uh-huh.
So next week, we'll be discussing Palm Springs.
Oh, Palm Springs. Okay.
Because I really want to talk about, they're in the time loop.
Yeah.
But think about everything that's happening outside of the time loop. Because time, moving normal.
It's that Groundhog Day problem where you're like, well, wait, I know he's having to re-loop every time, but
is everyone else, or is it? Yeah, and of course, the movie is funny. It's dramatic. I think Andy Samberg really shows his acting range in this film. Of course, we got our boy J.K. Simmons.
Yep. I did enjoy this movie a lot. I saw it when it came out on Hulu, and it was dope.
Did I.
And I bought the Tuna Train bootleg, and it's dope.
Bought the bootleg.
I bought the bootleg. Had to. I have it on Blu-ray now.
But yeah, you know what? And I mean, yeah, the film is strange in the sense of it's a time loop movie, but a little bit of a lighthearted strange film as comparison to the heavy-handed strange films that we've already done.
Yes, and that we will continue to do, trust me.
Yeah.
So this is the most lighthearted it's going to get from me, I think.
Well, except for the 100th episode special.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of my strange picks, I think this is about as fun as it's going to get.
So, there's a few quick announcements, everyone. So, the 100th episode, we're trying to get ready for it. We're just waiting on a couple of things.
Our sweaters.
And then next week's episode, because like I said, this one's going to come out in real time.
I disagree that should happen. But
you don't want this one to come out in real time?
No, because I'm going to be out of town again. And I'm not going to be able to record anything.
Okay. Well, you know what? Honestly, they'll give me time. So disregard what I said at the beginning.
Disregard.
This episode's not coming out in real time. This episode's coming out next week.
Fuckers. I don't know. Sorry, guys.
Okay, no, because that's what I was going to say, that you're going out of town this week.
Yes.
So we're not going to record this week.
Nope.
So this episode's going to come out next week. That gives me time to actually edit everything anyways.
That'd be dope. Yeah. I figured because, today is Wednesday.
Right? Yeah, because as soon as you left... as soon as you left, I was going to immediately start... But at least this gives me, I'll probably start editing. If I'm being honest, I'll probably get everything geared up, ready for
Gives me time to write the thing and whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, so we hope everyone enjoyed Rules of Attraction.
I don't know if I have any announcements. I don't think so. I kind of want to give out some recommendations.
Okay. Yeah, since, you know what? Yeah.
Yeah, let's do some recommendations. For comfort watching purposes, I've been getting back into King of the Hill, which I love.
Nice.
And of course, I don't know if it means more to us because we're from Texas, but I really like it.
Well, for sure. I mean, Mike Judge is also from Texas.
Yeah,
so.
I think, I don't know if just Texans really like King of the Hill or if everybody does. I don't know, but I really dig it. I've also been rewatching a lot of seasons of Ink Master, which I just love. If you're into that competition type show, I really dig it.
I'm probably going to start doing a rewatch of Brooklyn Nine-Nine soon.
Oh, yeah,
because the final season.
That's right. R.I.P.
I know. We're losing another great show.
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are.
I am going to eventually, actually, probably, what time is it? I'll probably watch it. Watch the special movie you bought for me.
Oh, yeah!
Because I think it's finally time to watch it.
Vampiros Lesbos.
I wasn't going to say the title.
Oh, yeah,
but
Vampiros Lesbos. Look it up. It's great.
Vampiros
Or, put up the poster.
I'll put it up. Okay, now back to Palm Springs poster.
Oh,
Yeah, I've been thinking about watching that. That's not a film recommendation for everyone.
well, can't recommend it. Haven't seen it yet, but
I will tell you.
Yeah, let me know. I'm really fascinated
Because Ashley doesn't want to watch it with me.
Oh,
so,
she doesn't.
No, so that works out perfect.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like an actual like honest to God recommendation I can give. I did this weekend. Kayla and I got drunk and we watched Blade 1 and 2.
Why?
Those movies are fucking rad. That's
But
why.
dude, Mahershala Ali is about to...
I know, and that's going to be dope. That's going to be... Listen, there's a difference between super rad and fun and good. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Huge difference.
There was one... also, if anyone out there has seen the show... Brand New Cherry, let us know in the comments. I'm very interested to see this. It's been compared to like David Lynch proportions.
Oh, well now I'm intrigued.
Well, see, I thought it was from David, and then I did a little bit of digging. I was like, oh, it's just been
What's it called?
Brand New Cherry.
Okay.
It's on Netflix.
Oh.
Anyway, so we hope everyone enjoyed our... Well, we didn't really give any film recommendations, our TV recommendations.
I guess we did give TV recommendations.
And we hope you enjoyed the episode on Rules of Attraction. And we'll see you next week for Palm Springs.